We talk about thyroid very often when it comes to weight loss products, but there's no company that attacks thyroid the way that Revive now has in thyroid support. In fact, when it comes to thyroid, there's two big questions. Does it treat the underlying cause, and does it treat the symptoms associated with underperforming thyroid? For Revive, they take care of both. So let's talk about how and why they accomplish this. To get into this, we have to talk about thyroid and the hormones involved with thyroid. Now, there's two main hormones we're going to talk about here and how they are affected by the supplements in this product. T3, the active thyroid hormone, and T4, the inactive thyroid hormone that is converted into T3. Now, some of that conversion is going to be affected by these ingredients, and we're going to talk about the things surrounding that as well. First ingredient we're going to talk about that is super important, you hear us talk about it all the time with thyroid health, is iodine. Now, something that occurs for humans very often in the US is iodine displacement. Fluoride, chlorine, bromine, a bunch of halogens that replace iodine in the body and makes it harder for iodine to be used for the thyroid. Now, we get chlorine from water. A lot of our water is fluoridated. Our dough in our country used to contain iodine, but that was replaced with bromine. So we're not getting a lot of iodine. I recommend that most people use iodized salt, but a lot of fit individuals are now using sea salt or pink Himalayan salt. Iodine deficiency is a real thing, and it's what's causing a lot of people to have thyroid issues. So Revive starts off by giving us a hefty 100 micrograms, but I would still recommend put that iodized salt in your food. Salt it to taste. Get that iodine in, because iodine is going to be very important for the thyroid, and without it, it's not going to function well. Iodine deficiency induced hypothyroidism can include chronic fatigue and weakness, cold intolerance, low levels of brown fat. Brown fat is that good body fat that's metabolically active, reduced heart rate, smaller and less active hippocampus. That's the part of the brain that coordinates learning and memory. Super important stuff, not just for body composition, but overall health and well-being, quality of life. Almost as important as iodine is the selenium that they include here as well at 200 micrograms. The human thyroid gland actually is the highest tissue concentration of selenium out of any organ or gland in the body. The deiodinase enzymes, which contain and require selenium to function, are responsible for converting that inactive T4 to T3, which is active for your body to use. So selenium deficiency could be catastrophic for your thyroid function. Now, before we get into the active ingredients, there's also a vitamin in here that's super important, vitamin A. Now, a deficiency of vitamin A can interfere with the thyroid's ability to absorb iodine. And this is going to be the first ingredient we talk about here that talks about the actual usage of the iodine. Yes, we're supplementing iodine in thyroid support by Revive, but how is it used efficiently? Well, there's a couple different ingredients. In one study on vitamin A, children with an iodine deficiency were analyzed for vitamin A status, and the researchers found that the more deficient a child was in vitamin A, the larger that child's thyroid gland was, and the higher his or her level of thyroid stimulating hormone, TSH, both of these things reliably indicate thyroid dysfunction. Kids treated with iodine and vitamin A did better than kids who were treated with iodine alone. So there's a little bit of a synergy there that we're definitely looking to get out of this ingredient. First active ingredient here, Nigella sativa seed extract, as Nigella is a trademark version. This is basically black seed oil. We're getting 500 milligrams of it. Now, we talk about this often in the context of weight loss supplementation. It lowers food intake, it lowers appetite, which may seem wrong for a thyroid ingredient, but you're kind of able to get your cake and eat it here as well, because black seed oil actually increases thyroid function in addition to lowering appetite. This also lowers TSH by about 35% and increases T3 levels by about 10%. It also has a bunch of effects on insulin resistance, which is kind of relevant when we're talking about body composition, thyroid health, and stuff like that. Insulin resistance comes along with obesity and poor thyroid health, so that's always nice to see as well. From there, we get into L-tyrosine. Now, tyrosine, we're only getting 200 milligrams, and that does sound like a low amount when you're comparing it to your pre-workout and nootropics, but you have to understand that tyrosine can actually increase thyroid function because it's a precursor to T3 and T4 hormones. Now, of course, if you've gained some weight because of your hypothyroidism, tyrosine, we've seen it in fat burners and pre-workouts, and it may help over there, and you definitely will see the precursors to noradrenaline, dopamine, and adrenaline. So if you're feeling sluggish and lethargic from that hypothyroidism, this is going to help a little bit but I'm not really looking forward for that normal pre-workout kind of effect. Now we hit an ashwagandha dose here, 200 milligrams again of KSM 66. Some people will look at this dosage and say, hey, that's a little bit less than I'm normally used to seeing. And that should be something that I welcome these kinds of comments, but realize that when we're looking at organ function products, we're not looking at the same kinds of dosages as your normal sports nutrition pre-workouts or testosterone boosters. We're talking about very specific claims, very specific purposes here. And for this purpose, 200 milligram actually makes sense. So let's get into why. Now, ashwagandha is an adaptogenic herb. It's going to help deal with stress. There's a lot of benefits, obviously, in testosterone production, cortisol reduction, power output. There's a lot of sports nutrition claims that we're not going to get into at this dosage. There's some animal models that corroborate ashwagandha's ability to improve thyroid status. In at least one study, mice who were given ashwagandha root showed increased levels of T3 and T4 after treatment. But to defend that 200 milligram dosage, we actually have a case study showing that large doses were too much for this purpose. Ashwagandha might be good at increasing thyroid function to the point where it actually can turn into hyperthyroid. This happened in one case study on a 73-year-old woman who took too much ashwagandha for years, and fortunately, that overproduction of thyroid hormone ceased when she stopped the supplementation. So we're seeing that actually a large dose of this might be too much if you're actually concerned about thyroid function. So this 200 milligram dosage makes total sense for someone who maybe is hypothyroid and is looking to just kind of get back into that normal range. That being said, personally, I really wouldn't worry. A lot of people using this product are still going to have KSM 66 elsewhere in their diet. Understand that I'm a big fan of KSM 66, so don't worry about getting too much, in my opinion. If you are a person who deals with, stress, you have to deal with cortisol, it's an awesome ingredient. I'm always down for more of it. Now, the next ingredient actually was a very obscure ingredient. We were kind of excited about this product because there were 3 ingredients we had to reach out and get some more information on. We're going to get into the other 2, which are kind of pretty aggressive down at the bottom. Here with Guggul gum extract, Guggul, I'm not really sure exactly, but it's standardized to 2.5% Guggul sterone, 150 milligrams. Now, this is, again, like I said, a very obscure ingredient, but it shows how committed Revive was to going after some interesting ingredients that really help with thyroid. Now, this helps the thyroid take up iodine. Again, like vitamin A, we're showing some synergistic ingredients here that maybe it's not a massive dose of iodine, but we're giving them enough iodine, not too much, because you can take too much iodine, and then we're allowing the body to absorb it more efficiently. They've also got Rhodiola rosea in here, 1% rosavins at 150 milligrams. This is another adaptogen, kind of similar to ashwagandha. Definitely going to help out with stress overall. As a lifestyle product, if you're using this as a busy individual, a business person, or whatever, as an athlete that has a real life that you have to deal with, this is going to help out with stress overall. But in terms of thyroid, there was actually a 2010 article titled "Exploring New Applications for Rhodiola rosea. Can we improve the quality of life of patients with short-term hypothyroidism induced by hormone withdrawal?" So that's kind of worth researching because it actually argues that rhodiola is helpful in improving the quality of life of people who maybe have short-term hypothyroidism. So as you're starting using this product, maybe you're still in that hypothyroid category, but we can help you be a little bit more comfortable in your day-to-day life by using an adaptogen like this. So as you're getting into a better range, it's going to help out with that stress, get you feeling better. And hey, I'm never going to agree with rhodiola. It's one of my favorite ingredients to use overall, dealing with stress, burnout, some energy and focus. This one isn't standardized for salicylate, so I'm not thinking too much of that actual really intense focus, but rosavins are super helpful for dealing with stress and anxiety. It's also worth noting that at least a part of rhodiola's anti-stress benefits can be explained by its ability to blunt the effect in cortisol production that typically occurs in response to stress. And that's kind of important for people with thyroid because cortisol is typically upregulated in their cases. Now, after that, we talk about Coleus forskohlii root extract, 100 milligrams here. This is obviously usually marketed for testosterone boosters, anti-obesity. It helps, obviously, as an anti-obesity, upregulate the thyroid pretty well. In animals, it was shown to make actual marked increases in T3 and T4, probably because, like vitamin A and some other ingredients in here, it helps the thyroid use iodine more. Again, making more use of that supplemental iodine here. Again, kind of like similar to the tyrosine and the rhodiola and the ashwagandha, this is also going to help out with low energy type systems as well. It helps fight fatigue, metabolic derangement. That's typically associated with thyroid diseases, so we see it all as very helpful. Now, last 2 ingredients we've got here are bovine thyroid glandular powder and bovine pituitary glandular powder. Now, these are exactly what you're thinking. They are the thyroid gland and the pituitary gland desiccated and pulverized out of a cow. Now, these are pretty aggressive. This kind of takes it to the next level. I respect the hell out of Revive using these things because these are intense. Now, obviously, being actual glands or organs from a body, these are going to contain actual hormones and the metabolites of them. Specifically on thyroid gland, some research has indicated that supplemental thyroid gland may even be as effective as synthetic preparations that are the first line treatment for thyroid diseases. In one study where hypothyroid patients were switched from T4 to a desiccated glandular supplement like this, nearly half, 48.6%, expressed a preference for the natural supplement. These patients also experienced a modest degree of fat loss, being 4 pounds lost over the 16-week period. Remember, these are hypothyroid patients. These are not athletes. Given this switch, they lost 4 pounds on their own. There was no note of changed diet or exercise or any of that. I find that to be rather significant. Lastly, like I said, we've got the pituitary glandular powder. Crazy thing here. Because the pituitary and the thyroid are both part of the same endocrine axis, the hypothalamic pituitary thyroid axis, the HPTA, consuming the glands together in the right proportions here can actually achieve a more balanced effect than consuming the thyroid alone. So you got a synergy again where they're really playing with all these ingredients working together. This is kind of a basic principle between the tip to tail animal nutrition, and so I'm kind of excited to see them doing that in a supplement here. Kind of a side note we wanted to make sure we got in here. Pituitary supplementation does seem to have a positive systemic effect. For instance, it's been used to protect the prostate gland from oxidative stress. So by using this ingredient, as with a lot of Revive products, you're getting an overall health benefit. Yes, specific on the thyroid, but getting a lot more out of this product than you probably would have expected at first glance. We've also got a bunch of other ingredients like minerals like magnesium, manganese, riboflavin, B12, zinc. All those things are obviously helpful with overall health. Hypothyroidism significantly raises B12 deficiency. So they've got a methylated version of B12 here that's super bioavailable. As always with Revive, we know they're the right sources of ingredients. We know it's tested for efficacy and purity. Overall, I'm in love with this formula. I don't personally have hypothyroidism, but if I did, this would be the first thing I'd recommend to someone who needed it. I love seeing the aggressive nature of these formulas. I love how far they're going for these, and I hope to see more from Revive soon. As always, guys, I gotta say, I got this bottle for free when we do have a business affiliate relationship, but hopefully this was helpful and informative. Thanks so much, guys, for watching, and have a great day.